how do you know if you've received a spiritual activation, or how do you know you're going through a spiritual activation? And this is what we're going to talk about today, right?
Yes, we are. And I'm so excited because I mean, we've gone through many, many, many activations and want to share with you, what our experience is, as well as, go through just a list of, common things that people go through, even though, everybody's experience is different. Everybody learns and grows in such unique ways. So we want to do just like a kind of well-rounded, walkthrough and then share some of our personal experiences around activation and then offer some, tips of how to get through, activation and ascension. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting conversation. I'm excited.
Yes, me too. So anyone who is joining us, thank you so much for joining our live. We love that you choose to spend your time with us and hang out with us. And even if you're not here on the live, thank you for looking at the video. And definitely thank you for sharing it with people who you may feel need this or have questions around it, or that it may resonate with them. So thank you so much for that. We so appreciate you. So, if we were to talk about spiritual activation, right, we would say when you want to understand or recognize a spiritual activation, you're going to think of it as a profound shift in your consciousness, and an awakening to a deeper level of spiritual understanding and awareness. It can be, what do they say, the subjective, right? Because it's a little different for everyone, and everyone has a different experience. However, there are some common themes, or experiences that will give you an indication that you're going through or have experienced a spiritual activation. And until we put this list together today, I think it also knocked my socks off, having went through so many spiritual activations, to be like, oh yeah, check. Oh, uh-huh, yeah, that happened. Oh wow, I didn't even know that was connected. You know what I mean? So I think it's going to be very informative, but exciting. And I think many of you, what I would love, when you watch the video, share with us your ahas. Let us know, like, wow, this happened to me at this place at this time. This is what I experienced. Oh, this also happened. Or I didn't know I was experiencing spiritual activation, and this is what happened. And even for those of you who have received the spiritual activation, you feel like you felt nothing or didn't experience anything, I want you to go through this video again and go back and look if any of these 12 things we're going to talk about hit home for you. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so let's dive in to the first one, which we found to be just a deeper introspection. All right. So, I mean, why are we here? Right. I found myself asking this question a lot throughout my life, like, what's my life purpose? Right. And then questioning just your belief systems, right? Just taking a deeper dive into another layer of a belief system. Maybe you've touched on it already and it's just coming around again, to gain a heightened awareness around, your beliefs and your understanding of the world. So that's a good one. Hmm.
Yeah. I love that. Your life's purpose. And we talk a lot about that all the
Yeah.
time, right? And I think even in our last video, we talked about that. Like, there has to be more to life than this. And I know that I'm meant for something greater or bigger. So what is that? But at least questioning it, you already know you're experiencing some type of activation. I love that, Ash. What else? What do you
Hmm.
think is number two?
Definitely a heightened sense of intuition, um, nudges. Maybe you're a knower, so just you have like an epiphany or some sentence just pops into your mind. Like I never thought about that before. You might have a feeling in your gut, that's a little bit different. It's it really there to guide your decision-making processes in a clear, more concise way. It's a difference from maybe before an activation. It's just a lot more clarity, a lot more you're grounded in, yet like this is, this is my intuition talking to me. I'm getting the information. So definitely a heightened sense of intuition as well. That would be number 2. And number 3 would be just a sense of connection. I mean, in my experiences, like I just love everybody and everything that much more after an activation. So it's like, oh, look at that tree, and look at that beautiful sunset. Like I'm a highly sensitive person anyways, and I'm really attuned into those things, but I can definitely say that after an activation, it is that much more. Like there's colors, they're more vivid. Everything's just a lot more textured. It's like all of my senses have been heightened, which is awesome feeling. So, yeah.
Yes, I love that. And considering you and I almost got killed and eaten by a mountain lion, we can respect and appreciate that sense of connection, right? With nature and the way that the nature and the universe, there was the death silence. So people who know hunting or things like that, which Ashley and I learned after the fact, that there is going to be big prey or animals in the vicinity. I've never heard a nothingness that was so creepy, but also remember the prickers. There was like these random cacti, but it was weird because you couldn't really see them on the ground, but they kept going through. She has these awesome toed shoes, sneaker shoes.
Yeah.
And they kept going through her shoes. So we'd have to like stop as we were going. But that was like our connection to the universe, right? And the universe trying to say, hey, girl, like stop going forward. There for me, there was one random butterfly. My mom, she's been gone 9 years now. 10. And my mom always sends us butterflies. And when there was nothing where we were in Colorado, nothing, like not a cricket, not a sound, nothing. It was just void. The one butterfly came straight to me and like turned my happy self around that way. And eventually that's how we, transition. And we will continue that mountain lion story. So you always hear fragments, but we promise you we're going to give you the full mountain lion story at some point here. But yeah, so I think that is the connection. We had a strong connection to everything. Even it had a connection, to us when we didn't even realize it, and and also we were building new soul tribes, connecting to new people, you and I.
Definitely.
And we're like Wonder Twins now. So yeah, I really think that sense of connection that you haven't felt before to everything from nature, the universe, people's feelings, empathy is really huge. And definitely a sign and indication that you have experienced a spiritual activation.
Yes. So as we go down this beautiful list, number 4, changes in energy levels. Oh yes. I mean, everybody's, like we said, everybody's, experience is different. I know in my case, I have felt very energized after an activation. I've also felt like I've needed to withdraw and not have too much interaction with people. So, and it can change and fluctuate within a day. And then that extends to even up to 2 weeks. I know when I first came back from the Heartland, back to Bermuda, I was, the Heartland's in Colorado up in the mountains. And we were like 6,000 feet up. And I come back to Bermuda, which is, at sea level. And it was such a shift in my energy levels and my vibration that I was physically sick, for a couple of weeks. And this is probably on the list as well, a little bit further down, but the physical symptoms, the changes in the energy levels. One day I was feeling good, and then the next day I had to take my time. So that's definitely a really good one to point out, that you might feel lethargic. You might have beautiful bursts of creativity and are able to conquer the world. And then half an hour later, you're taking a nap.
Yes. Oh gosh.
So that's a really good one. Anything you want to add to that, B?
No, I just think it's just to be aware, because it's physical and mental. So you said, like, sometimes you could have bursts of creativity that you've never experienced before. And you're like, wow, where did this come from? But then other times it's like, I can't even get out of bed. I can't even move, So just know that there'll be those fluctuations. And no, you're not bipolar. This is part of experiencing energy. And sometimes we have to give ourselves grace for that, and as moms, right? Mompreneurs, entrepreneurs, dadpreneurs, like when you're dealing with family, work, balance, life, we often don't take into consideration the impact of spiritual awareness and spiritual growth. And so, yeah, just be mindful and give yourself some grace that those energy fluctuations are divinely meant, because sometimes you're going to need more rest because your body is activating. You've done work on different planes and levels that your mind can't even process yet.
Yeah.
And the opposite is where you're now tapped into a frequency that is so high. It's like it blows your mind that you have these thoughts and this creative fire and passion behind you. It's just breathtaking. So, yeah, I just want to say, know that it's perfectly okay and normal, and just to give yourself some grace. Yeah.
Love yourself through it, right? Pillar of
Yes.
galactic love.
Because your family may look at you like you're freaking nuts, or you're lazy, or like, oh, I didn't know why you went to meet your spiritual network friends or your psychic network friends, as my sister Jamie always talks smack. And it's amazing how far she has come around. I'm even surprised, but it's like literally they'll look at you like, girl, you've been in bed. You're just by yourself. Like, you're supposed to be doing A, B, and C, and you're just like, I can't. And other times, like, I was awake for 3 nights in a row, just channeling information and wise wisdom and, maybe putting together a business plan or whatever it was at that time. Yeah. So just know your family may think you're off your rocker, but you're not. Love yourself through it. That's the power of unconditional love. There's no condition.
Yeah, and that perfectly goes into the next, or number 5, is altered states of consciousness, right? It's just you're experiencing different things, either through meditation, experiencing life, just spontaneous moments of clarity, understanding, epiphanies, new perspectives on things. It's like you've opened this portal to this new kind of channel of wisdom. Right. And it kind of comes in spurts, right? Giving you the opportunity now to implement, and giving your body the opportunity to catch up, your body, mind, right? So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then that also blends into synchronicities as well, that number 6, right? Meaningful coincidences. It's like, oh, wow, were you sent to me? Like this can't be coincidence, right?
Right. What is that? The Book of Miracles talks about that so beautifully, that miracles happen at every second or moment of the day if you are open to the magic and the beauty of it. So synchronicities, for you and I, one of our first synchronicities is that you had my divine number, 1133. It's always 1133 in my world. And that was your passcode to your room.
Yes.
Or the room number. And I was like, you got to be kidding me, right? And then eventually that was my passcode. So it was just there's just so many synchronicities. You may, when you have the spiritual activation, or you've already experienced it, even without knowing it. Because I did, and we both
Yeah.
alluded to that before. Like Ashley and I sometimes will naturally activate your spiritual gifts without our intention, because we naturally harness those gifts. We have learned and been trained how to specifically activate them on an accelerated way. But it's no shock that sometimes you're going to experience an activation and not realize it. So,
Yeah.
right. So having said that, I think pay attention to synchronicities, to messages, divine numbers, like I
Right.
know people like the radio speaks to me.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have people pop up in your life. Someone will reach
Right.
out to you, text you, or see
Yeah.
you, or you'll cross paths with them and you haven't seen them in 10 years. Or I thought about you yesterday. Here you are. What are some other synchronicities you can think of we've experienced?
I mean, as far as activations, what were you talking about? The first thing that came to my mind is like when you're walking somewhere, you might just be activating with the energies in the ground or where you are. Like just being in Bermuda is a very, unique place to be. So people come here, and when they get off the plane and they step on the ground, they get activated.
Yes.
And I didn't know, right? It's still like there's some energy here. I can't put my foot on it. I can't really describe it, but then you're kind of going through these emotions along with, you know, just connecting with the energies around you at all times. So an activation would make you just that much more sensitive to pick up on the synchronicities because they're happening all the time, right? It's just, are we aware of them? Are we looking for them? Same thing with opportunities, so it's yeah, it's very cool. Synchronicities is one of the things that I remember Oliver talking about. He's like, you start to notice them and then they happen so often, it's hard to keep up, right? With all of the stuff that's happening. So, yeah.
Yeah. And thank you for reminding me that the importance of, a vortex or vortices, or portals that exist in the energetic grid lines, So thank you for sharing that, because I think that that's really, really important. Because sometimes the land is going to activate you. It doesn't even need to be a person. We can talk about a whole nother conversation on that, right? So definitely
Yes, ma'am.
synchronicities. Yeah.
Yeah. So up next is the desire for authenticity. And I mean, just being authentic and aligning with, your true values and beliefs. And I think this is a very interesting one, because when you go through an activation, it's like you're opening up portals to your higher self. And your higher self aligns with the laws of the universe, right? Or the laws of Ma'at. And, it attunes your vibration a little bit, stronger to those rooted, but, laws that lie within our DNA that might just be sitting dormant there, waiting to be activated, waiting to be open, so all of that beautiful information that's been stored there can come through. So I know I've definitely felt like a resurgence of, deepening my spiritual practices, being more true to myself, loving myself, and really embodying that after a spiritual activation. That's this renewed sense of, yes, I'm on purpose. I'm in alignment. I'm on my path. No, I'm not to my destination, but I now understand that much more deeply that, it's a process and it's unfolding, in divine time and perfectly, and as it should. So I love that one. Desire for authenticity. Yes.
And I think often, I used to be very scared to be my full, complete, authentic self. I thought people would think I was weird or nuts. And I worked so hard my whole life to come out of poverty and try to do things that I felt like in life would take my family to the next level. Whether if it was education or work or working 3 jobs, or, and for a person who was pregnant at 15 and had a baby at 16, who is now the most incredible creation in this planet and one of the best things I've ever done. I just didn't want to maybe disappoint or go from like this real like scientific, sciencey background to this spiritual nutso, you know? And I can remember that I did a whole, so I'm certified as a professional coach through IPEC. And I can remember we used to do like coaching training, right? And sometimes us as coaches would be the one who would be the coachee. And one of my sessions, literally, I was the coachee and being coached by all these amazing, powerful coaches, some of the best, I think, in the world. And I was just blabbering, crying through the whole thing because I couldn't reconcile in my mind how I would bridge the gap between coaching and being a spiritual coach and a spiritual mentor and intuitive being all at one. And we now understand you can have it all. You know, you can do it all. But that was part of me embracing my authentic self. Now I don't give a flying rat's whatever. Like I'm me. And if you know that spirit talks to me or that people who have transitioned have communicated with me, that I'm a divine channel and the universe and source and God can use me as a vessel to do good in the world and share messages and prophetic things for people, then that's what I am. And some people are going to be my tribe and some people are not. And I just had to own that. And it feels beautiful. It's scary as hell in the beginning, but it feels so beautiful. Yeah.
It does. Yeah. Yeah. It's like that tension before the release. That's how I would describe it. Like, it's like, oh, am I going to get through this? And then you get on the other side, you're like, oh, yes, that was worth it. It was like 100% worth it.
Yes, it was. And it is.
And that beautifully ties into number 8 with the shift in priorities. I mean, you're going from shifting, like you said, it's a beautiful example that you said, you're from material goals and societal measures of success. They become less important and you really start aligning with personal growth and spiritual development. And it leads you to, you know, whatever you do in the mundane, whatever you know, your spiritual self will shine through and be shown through whatever you do. Right. So that shift in priority, I think, becomes very tangible. Like you can kind of feel it as you're going through, you know, the spiritual ascension process. And like, this doesn't matter anymore. I don't want all of these things around me anymore. What does it even matter? Right. Letting go of things. And, you know, that's even a process in itself, because especially when you let go of material things, there's a lot of energetic kind of attachment to those things. And once you finally release and surrender and allow it to let it go, instead of it allowing it to define you, you know, and who you are and your identity, you know, you really start to ascend and raise your vibration and kind of stay there in that state. So, yes. Ooh.
Yes, I love that. Yeah. The shift in priority. I think there's nothing really to even add there. It's just literally your priority shift. What you used to define as success. And even in the coaching world, you really push people to define what success means to them. And eventually you're going to unpack it in a way that you're like, wow, it's not always about the dollars and cents. It's literally about self-reflection, self-awareness, and self-improvement.
Yeah. Beautiful. So I know we talked a little bit about this next one, changes in relationships. And I think this is a really, you know, big one, because, you know, one thing that we've learned through our energetic certification journey is that once, you know, your vibration is shifted, it's felt amongst those that you are already connected with, knowingly or unknowingly. Like they just pick up that something has changed, and either, you know, they kind of get that pull to start to ascend along with you, or it's like something just, you know, unfolds into you're not, you know, in this person's energy field as often. That's probably a good way to put it, right?
Yeah. I think that's actually a beautiful way to put it, because the changes in relationships, it's interesting that that is a category in and of itself. But
Mhm.
even in GO1, our first activation, our first experience, changes in relationships was this profound thing. For
Mhm.
myself, I had already talked about ending a long-term relationship that I had struggled for a long time to do. And though it was hurtful and painful, but I know it gave us both peace that neither of us could choose for each other, you know?
Mm.
I know someone else who she had a partner, and I think they were together probably 2 years. She got home off the plane, and within 24 hours, that relationship ended. I know
Mm.
someone else who was going through a divorce, long struggled for it, didn't want to sign off, signed the divorce papers when they got home. Someone else I know met the love of their life at the same time. A beautiful new relationship entered because they had released so much energy. They did so much healing just in that short amount of time. And then a friend of mine, my soul sister, who I love, her and her partner, her husband, um, she said their relationship just grew so close and connected in ways that they never could imagine that they would connect on a new level, a profound, deep way. So I feel like
Mm.
the relationship doesn't have to be good, bad, or ugly. It's just know that during activations, um, relationships are going to change, but it really is serving you. We always say, what, for the highest and greatest good of all. We may want to
Mhm.
hold on to those relationships, even if we feel they're amazing, or we just love the idea of them, or even if they're toxic, that may come to an end. But there's fruit being planted, the seeds are growing, like spring's coming. So yeah, you get to spring ahead with something more beautifully in alignment with your higher self and your soul. That's the beauty of spiritual activation. Yeah. So relationships, I just know that one so like, holy moly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, my relationship with my husband exponentially was amazing. And I was kind of like nervous around it because Oliver was like, well, your relationship changed. I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Right?
Right.
Like, are we going to grow together? Are we, like, is it the end?
Right.
So, our relationship just definitely flourished, and I got to see him in amazing new different ways and see how really sensitive and energetic he was, where before maybe I had some beliefs, and because of my experiences with him it was just closed off, right? And so I love how activations and growth and working on yourself in a relationship, could actually be that thing to skyrocket that relationship to the next level. So thank you for bringing that, up, and because that's
Yes.
been my experience. So
Yeah.
amazing. Yes. So we're at 10 already.
Number
Sensitivity to yeah, number 10. Woo-hoo.
10.
Sensitivity to surroundings. People, places, foods, media, and then often it leads to like a change in maybe your lifestyle choices, right? Maybe you're thinking about what is going into my body? What am I consuming on YouTube or, on TV? What sort of people am I around, and do I want to be or continue to be vibrating at that level, or do I need to change up, my social circles? So that's pretty cool. Sensitivity to surroundings. I can align with that. Yep. Hmm.
Yeah.
Anything to
Sensitive
add?
sensitivities to surroundings. I would say people, places, and things. I think that's the underlying essence of it. But I
Hmm.
also feel like some people they won't be able to be in your energetic presence. They literally will like leave
Mm,
the room. They will
right.
cross the street. They will drive right past you. They just can't. They can't because you're vibrating at a new frequency or vibration. And these could be people that were your your homies, your people you chilled with, people you were work colleagues, you were professional colleagues. You could be on the board of trustees with them. You understand? There's no socioeconomic restrictions on this. It doesn't matter where you are in life. The
Right.
reality is you're going to have sensitivity to your surroundings, and people are going to be sensitive to you because you're at a new vibration. You know what I mean? So, what was anything else? I think I only think the thing I would say probably was I found that after that, there'd be times that it was intolerable for me to be in a room. And I was like, oh, gotta go. Like, it was just something that I just knew, like right then, right there, like, oh, I gotta go. I can't be here. And that's why you put all of these together, all 12. You're gonna be like, oh, this is mind, this is body, this is spirit, this is intuition, this is soul, this is knowing, this is wisdom, this is connect. Like, you just become far more aware. It's almost like, your hair on your body. That's an antenna, right? That's why we get truth bumps, right? The goosebumps, we call them truth bumps because your hair is that antenna, that connection. All of those things will be more sensitive to your surroundings and sensitivity to food. I am blessed that I have Ashley in my life, who is this awesome, amazing woman who, like, I can't say enough about her because she does it all. But what I can say is when it comes to like food and consumption and what you put in your body, she always pushes me to do better and be better. And she never pushes me directly. She just does it by being her amazing self. And there's been times where I went on like a 45-day, no dairy, no meat, no nothing. Just one day I just decided, no, I'm not doing any of that. And guess what? Plant-based meats actually tasted okay. And I don't eat beef or pork ever at all in any way, shape, or form, or any red meat rather. Sometimes I eat chicken, sometimes I eat turkey. But I say all that to say is that I literally had no meat, period. And no dairy at all.
How did you feel? Like how the difference? Because I've been a vegetarian all my life. So to have that meat kind of, background and then kind of going, for, no pun intended, cold turkey.
Sorry. Yes, you're great with that.
Good.
We're so cheesy, but we love it. But yeah, so I mean, I felt lighter, honestly. That's what I can say. I felt lighter. And I think if I'm looking back in hindsight, I felt maybe more energetic. So I can say when we go to the Heartland, in Colorado, everything is vegetarian, if not vegan. The only thing that they gave us eggs are not considered vegan. They're considered more vegetarian. So eggs were available, but they would do everything else as vegan. And you basically like just cleanse your energetic body and your palate. So I would say lighter, better. I always come back from the Heartland feeling lighter, clearer. So I do think there's a lot to say to that. But it is interesting because my body has gone in these cyclical things. It goes in times where I need way more sleep. I can't sleep all night. I want to sleep all day. I now am in the cycle where I can't keep my eyes open past 10:50 and I'm dying. And then I wake up early even when I don't want to. That's that. Food wise, I went through, like I said, it was boom, just like that. No dairy, no meat. Then there was a space more recently where I was like, I can't eat plant-based proteins right now. They taste disgusting to me. And even if I wanted to fake it till I make it, I can't. My taste buds were just like, nope. And I think I was probably in a cycle of more grounding and needing to do that. So those were maybe my mind's go-to options or what my body is more familiar with. That home style, even if it's a fake meatloaf with gravy and mashed potatoes, I just needed that. Right. So yeah, I think that's the long and short of it. Definitely feel better when I'm not, but I think there's also this beauty in not condemning yourself even if you do eat meat. Like
Right.
Ashley never talk smack to me. She'll give me wisdom and insight, like, girl, don't be putting those hormones in your body, or you don't want those antibiotics, or whatever, which I love and I hear and I appreciate. But just know that she's only giving that to me for love and her wisdom and her understanding and her knowing. And if she's sharing that with me, it's for a reason. And I think
Mm,
I'm going to digress for 1 second, just because I think this is important to say. Sometimes it used to really piss me off when people wouldn't understand or get, like, if I'm sharing this message with you for some freaking reason, I'm like, I know God told me to share this message with you because it's important and it's going to be important, whether if it's for your body, it's for your health, your strength, your knowing, your wisdom. Like sometimes like I used to want to shake like my sisters or my mom, you
hmm
know, like, will you just bloody listen to me? Shit. You
hmm
know, it but you don't have no control over them. You only have control over you.
Over you.
But trusting the messages when they come and when people deliver them, like you've delivered them to me, I knew that was important and I didn't take that for granted. And do I
Mm,
not eat chicken? No, it's not that I don't, but I'm definitely more modified in my meat consumption, I think, than I've ever been in my whole life. And historically, I would love to be a vegetarian. Just I'm still working on healing my thyroid. And then you hear a lot of stuff like, oh, selenium, it's very important. You get that from there, where you can definitely get it from other places. So I think, and then when I was doing a vegetarian diet, there was a lot of soy. Soy ends up
hmm
not being really great for your thyroid in its own right. So I think that's the long and short of it. In this spiritual activation journey, I just told you about what I had greater awareness about myself. Ashley supported me along my journey with greater connection. I had altered states of consciousness where I was like, you know what? I'm not having more meat, no more dairy. I had a sense connection of higher to her, to the world, to the universe, my intuition. I just knew deeper and more profoundly. So I'm like, this is a whole thing. It's not just one thing. So even though we digressed there and I just felt like, yeah, it was important.
Yeah, and I think that's a beautiful testament because it's just an unfolding. I think every healing and activation that we get, we just have that much more sensitivity to those surroundings and able to follow through on certain actions depending on where we are at that time. And it's important to honor where you are on your journey and not to have too much expectations and beat yourself up and then comparing your situation to others. I think we've been through this, Brandy and I mean, we beat ourselves up a lot. We really hold a high standard to certain things, and
Yeah.
becoming more sensitive to that each and every time and allowing our growth to happen in its own unique way has been really, really priceless. So, I mean, it's taking your time, enjoying the process, and at each step, it's just that much more satisfying because you can see the growth over time through those conversations Brandy and I have. It's like, yeah, you've really changed. Like, let me just honor you right now, right?
Mhm.
Because that Brandy 3 years ago, she would have never said that.
No. And vice versa for you. The way you're here and you're so comfortable and elegant and boasty
Oh,
in your own right. Like Ashley would never be like that years ago. It would just never happen. So I
mm,
love that. Like that's the testimony, like our growth. Yeah. And to
yeah,
witness
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, we've talked about, all of these already, and going into number 11 is the physical symptoms,
Hmm.
like changes in your sleep patterns, like you said, unexplained aches. Like I'm a feeler, so I had to close a couple of portals in my spine because there was so much energy just passing through. It would show up as pain. And, my Qigong practice has definitely helped with that as well, dealing with the moving the energy through the physical body, especially when you go through an activation, because it's like you're being pushed through this tight space, right? Um, and a lot of these things can't be like medically explained. It's like even if you go to the doctor's like, we can't find anything. We've ran this test, we've run that test, we've done this. And it just might be that you're going through an ascension, an activation, just a change in your spiritual evolution. right? Or you've been affected by somebody else. And I think this is a really good segue into addressing and going through and tips around going through spiritual ascension and dealing with physical symptoms and understanding your energy body, how to protect it, doing, energy management practices around your aura, because you are more sensitive now. I think this is a really important point that we've learned, that as when you go through this ascension journey, it's that much more important. You have to do those spiritual practices. You have to do that energy work. You have to do that, that exercise or that qigong or that physical practice. You're meditating a lot more, and it really helps you as you're going through, each ascension process, because, we are on a journey to wholeness. Just saying.
Yes. Yes, we're all connected. It's all connected for sure.
Yes, and that's a beautiful segue into our 12th point, which is, once you go through these ascension periods, because they usually last maybe a couple of weeks after, you go through an activation, is that you do have a greater sense of peace and oneness. Those moments that you just feel super connected to the universe, so grateful for everything that's happening in your life, even if, it's less than desirable, right? There is a understanding that we're just passing through this. It's temporary. My oneness and my connection to the universe is forever, right? My joy in understanding that is forever. So, yeah.
Yes. And I love that you mentioned ascension, right? So we would say that's almost synonymous, your spiritual activation. And these are also similar to what we would define as ascension symptoms, right? Ashley and I, when we were in Colorado and then would come back, we would just talk about the different experiences we'd have, and whether if it was mental, physical, spiritual in the body. I know for me, I can remember laying on my bed and I was so exhausted because it would be like a 12-hour trip, a 14-hour flight, because I had to flight to flights, 3 different flights to get to Dolores, Colorado is where we go, in the middle of nowhere, up on a beautiful mountain in the Heartland Ranch. So when I get back, I would try to lay down, and even when I did, I'd be dead exhausted. And guess what? My breath around me would be so cold. It was like almost if I wasn't in my body, right? It's like an otherworldly experience. And my breath, like I would be warm and covered, but the air around me would be so cold and crisp. And what I realize now is that recalibration, because my vibration, my natural vibration there, and the work that I had done brought me to such a high peak that my home and my space and my environment had never experienced me in that way or in that capacity. So it's amazing to see how the environment interacts with that, and it interacts with you. Some people may be freaked out and scared to death, like, oh my God, it's my breath is cold and all this stuff. But really, that was just the recalibration of frequency, the recalibration of energy, knowing on how high my frequency was able to go, which I'm so grateful for, and that's why Ashley getting sick, her body energy moved at the speed of light. Her mind and her body had to play catch up, so it was like, sometimes many of us, Ashley has had her own business before and run multiple businesses, MBA. She's a brilliant woman. For me, I've always worked in, higher education, whether if I was a data dork or the director of something, institution research or assessment. We all know that professional life, right? And we're busy, busy, busy. We're go, go, go. Sometimes the universe is going to be like, nope, wipe that completely out. It's just going to wipe you out. Because they said you didn't want to take a break, we're going to give you one for you. So when you go through spiritual activation, it's not that you need to have fear around, oh, I'm going to get sick or this and that. You have to just understand, in order to get something that you've never got, you have to do something you've never done. It's just Really true. And so that's the same way with energy. You're
Hmm.
now exposing yourself to new realities and frequencies that are more love and more light that you've never ever experienced.
Right.
But it's going to feel and be experienced differently because it is a subjective experience, you know?
Hmm.
So the ascension symptoms, Ashley mentioned Qigong and moving the energy. Guess what? In our app, we have a beautiful class, a Qigong dancing class that Ashley teaches. And I'm a beautiful little guest because I'm also learning that too. And you should join us as well. You know, it's a beautiful practice. There's videos on my website, on our channel of what Qigong is. But because she does the beautiful art of the dancing piece for us, it's in our app. You get access to it if you join. You can even sign up if you want to join the actual class. And it's on a weekly basis, which is amazing. And another way to harness and maximize and move your energy on your, ascension journey, your journey to wholeness. That's what this is. And I even when Ashley and I connected today, and I was like, it's so amazing to me that really number 12 is that oneness. And we just define it as that journey to wholeness because
Right.
by GO3, I just walked around proud as a peacock. Like my feathers were just flying. I was one with my higher selves. There's multiple. Archangel Dionysus, Prophet like Muhammad, and the Divine Mother. And I'm like, wow, this is the greatest feeling alive. I don't think I've ever, where chaos has been comfort to me because of the life that I've lived and the environment that I grew up. It was no chaos. It was just complete oneness, complete wholeness.
Mm.
Like I never felt such profound peace, like lack of fear, but faith, you know? And that's what we're doing this for. Everyone
Mhm.
should experience that, and it's
I
not
love.
necessarily a destination because even when I felt that wholeness, there's still so much more I'm growing and elevating and ascending.
Mhm.
But to have experienced that at all in my lifetime is priceless. Absolutely priceless. So, definitely join our app. Um, and you can find that and access our tools at the Billionaires Triad. We have the Empaths Survival Guide, which will support you. Definitely download it. And you can find that at www.thebillionairestriad.com, as well as, you want to tell them about the meditation, Ash?
Yeah. So the empath survival guide, just some essentials that we have compiled together that we believe that can help others, that are highly sensitive, empaths, light workers, star seeds, all of the above, just to navigate triggers, right? Especially when you're going through this heightened state of ascension, you're just more sensitive. You really have to take care and remind yourself of all the beauty that is really to come as you go through the process. And we bundled that with the grounding activation guided meditation and infused some beautiful sacred geometry, layering into the actual video and recording, so you can come back to it, listen to it as many times as you need to activate that grounding. As I know, after an activation, I'm so floaty, I'm so up in the air. It's like I'm not even in my body, even
Yeah.
though I felt like that all of my life. But especially after an activation, you really, really feel it. So having that grounded, guided meditation, that activation of that grounding geometry is been priceless for me. Also have all sorts of other goodies on our app. The introduction to the Qigong course, you can learn 2 free postures to start really, feeling more in your body and embodying that new vibrational state that you have risen into. There's the charge of the day, which is, you grab a cup of coffee in the morning or tea, sit and listen or read, some inspiring words from Brandy and Ashley. And we're still working on that. That's a work in progress. Um, I think the other one is the Diamond Codes quiz. So if you're already on your journey to wholeness and you want more clarity around activating into a Diamond Code pillar, and I know Brandy can talk a little bit more about the ins and outs of that. But the free quiz is available to go through so you can activate and find out your personal Diamond Code Key Pillar and start that journey as well. So lots of goodies to tap into right now that you can access for free right now, and also a community of people that you can join, and we can really just share our experiences and support each other through the process of ascension and spiritual evolution. So I'll let you take it for Brandy.
Spiritual evolution and connection. That's the key, right? Without all of my soul sisters and brothers, I probably would have been like, yep, I'm losing my mind, you
Yep.
know? But I wasn't. I was finding all of the fractals of me. I was re-remembering who I was, that my soul already knew. And it was just the divine timing for me to reawaken and re-remember. But that connection and that community to find like-minded individuals and people that you can say these things to. I can remember being so scared or afraid, or maybe, I don't know if it was embarrassment, or maybe I felt like I would disappoint my sisters or like immediate friends that I had connected with, like that I just couldn't say certain things to them because it just would be like over their head. It just,
Mhm.
and not that they're dumb or ignorant in any way, shape, or form. It's just not on their radar.
Right.
That's not in their world right now, their level of consciousness,
Mhm.
because they're coming into things in their own right. But
Mhm.
with all of my geo people, and my few, I could call and say, the universe spoke to me today and God sent me a message that we are reawakening the planet and the elevation for 5D is on the horizon. Or it could be anything like, oh, I prophetically have this message for someone, or we did a beautiful healing and the diamond codes came in and they unfolded like this, and this is what it looked like, and this is how it serves people. This is where you place it. Or dragons showed up. Like,
Mhm.
dragon language was never historically in my vocabulary. My nephew Princeton did, however, say when he was 5 and he went to school at St. Mary's and they asked everybody else what they wanted to be, and they all said a firefighter or a policeman or whatever. And my nephew Princeton said, when I grow up, I want to be a dragon. And the guy said,
Oh.
you want to be what? And he said, I want to be a dragon. And that's because Princeton soul origin has dragon energy. He is already the creator and had the blessing to not have to wait so long in his life to reawaken to all that he is and still remember that at 5 years old. So I'm saying those are like foreign, silly, crazy things that may seem like out the box. But when you understand healing in different contexts, dragon energy is really, really profound,
Mhm.
and reach depths of level that most other healings can't. Um, but my nephew Princeton knew that without knowing anything else. And the whole
Mhm.
place laughed and chuckled and thought it was the cutest thing. And I can always remember that. But that is, you need community. Community is key. And that's why we're here. That's why we built our app. That's why we are connecting with light workers across the world. That's why we are looking for other healers that are going to host courses in our app. And it's just that powerful place to have connection. And during the spiritual activation process, now that you know what it feels like, or to understand if you experienced one, you now know, hey, here's a safe space for you to have connection. And even if it's not our app, as long as you find someone, that's all we wish for you, because
Mhm.
you need that support. And I think just
Definitely.
remembering, that a spiritual activation really it's so deeply personal. It's
Mhm.
individualized, and it manifests itself completely unique for each and every individual.
Mhm.
And I want you to know that you have to have self compassion on this journey. Give yourself grace. Um, Even when things seem like they're falling apart, because you can have days and times where you cry and you're confused and things just show up like a tornado or a whirlwind. But sometimes things have to be torn apart so that way you can rebuild from a stronger foundation.
Yes.
And I want you to trust in that. And if you're feeling like uneasiness or, distress or confusion, or you're really struggling, definitely feel free to reach out to us. If you do therapy, you can go to therapy and seek that support as well. But also contact spiritual advisors, spiritual mentors to see like what's coming up for you and why, so that way you can be supported. We never want people to feel alone or isolated on this journey. That's why we're here, right? We're trying to unite us all. But we want to give you loving guidance and support. Know that Ashley and I are not medical doctors. We're not going to perform surgery besides an energetic one. So, but I just want you to trust the journey and trust the process. And when fear comes up, talk about it, acknowledge it, be that little bird in the sky, witnessing your experience. And I think that was the one thing that has helped me so much, as well as I can say, Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. In this exact moment, I'm okay, and be an observer, witness, So again, there's 12 that we've given you today: deep introspection, heightened intuition, a sense of connection, changes in your energy levels, altered state of consciousness, synchronicities. We'll never stop saying that. That's like our super, super fave. Did you see the synchronicities? Or these are what showed up. Even my niece Desiree is always like, oh, there's my license plate, 777. Or, oh, there's this, 555. So 6 is synchronicities. 7, desire for authenticity. 8 is a shift in priorities. 9, changes in relationships. 10, sensitivity to your surroundings. 11, physical symptoms. And 12, unity, wholeness, peace, oneness, and basically your journey to wholeness. That's your 12. Yeah. So we love you all unconditionally. Anything else, Ash, you want to add?
No, I think it's a perfect lead off. I mean, we've talked about all of the kind of activation signs, ascension symptoms. We've talked about how we've gone through them as healers and receivers of healing and activations from others. So yeah, I think that's a beautiful, and tips, right? I mean, we've talked about how you can get help. There's resources that we've put together. If you're interested, we'll drop that link in the comments so you can read a little bit more and start benefiting off of, our, experiences on this journey, so we can enrich your experience and we can all grow together, because it's all connected and we're all connected.
Yes, it's all connected and we're all connected. I love you. Thank you so much. You're always a rock star. And we love you all unconditionally. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing. And, send us messages. What videos do you want? I know we didn't go deep into our own personalized, individualized spiritual activation stories. So I'm sure they'll be on the horizon. But at least now you know if you've experienced a spiritual activation. So share how you've experienced it, what's happened for you. We'd love to know. Blessings.
Mm-hmm.